Yeah, I mean, and also in professional orgs, the structure of who you have to go through, right? Like to make changes, to offer advice, right? Like it's a lot different in terms of like who's to say that pitching coach is even allowed to offer you pointers on a Wednesday without the pitching coordinator present or without the pitching coordinator's approval, right? The good orgs, yes, they hire the right people, they give them the structure, and they say, here's the freedom, go make that guy better, right? But that's not every org by any stretch of the imagination. But you're completely right about just being under that one umbrella, being under that one developmental track, being able to go back home to your resources and not be on your own and feel like you're on an island. The incentive of the coaches to develop you and to ensure that your development is taken care of and specifically maximized. All of those things are more beneficial than the minor league structure. And all the minor league structure allows orgs to do is have control, right? That's it. They want the control to be able to say, well, because again, God forbid we send a guy to college, he throws 110 pitches as a freshman, he blows out that summer, right? Like there are so many things that could go wrong to an org, and being able to say, hey, at least we did everything under our control to prevent said injury versus allowing somebody else's own interpretation of what we want be the determining factor of whether that injury happened or not. I understand that completely, but I do also think to a major extent, and we can make arguments for days, that's BS, right? That is a sorry excuse for a reason to not allow these guys to go have an opportunity to develop under, again, we said this last week, the best developers of talent in my mind, for my money's worth, the best developers of talent are Matt Hobbs, are Wes Johnson, are Nate Yeskie, right? Like, no questions. I don't know who my double A pitching coach is, but those guys in college baseball, they get paid more. They have more experience than the young guy that's your double A pitching coach. And they're in a position to actually get hands on with your guys. I would trust Matt Hobbs, any of the pitching coaches in the SEC, a lot more than I would trust a lot of professional baseball coaches that are bouncing around or lifers in Major League Baseball or former high level players that just backed their way into a position because they didn't want to go sell insurance, right? Like all of these things that come into place, right? Like the Matt Hobbs and Wes Johnson and Nate Yeskie and all of these dudes in college baseball. And again, there's bad programs at developing pitchers. There are, but that's your job as a professional organization to communicate that, right? To say, X school, because I'm not going to call anybody out, but I mean, there's obvious ones. X school doesn't treat their pitchers well. So if
Well,
you're a top prospect, don't go there.
I'm assuming you're drafting a guy after he's committed to a school.
Yes. So
You
that
probably
goes into
wouldn't draft
your
that guy.
equation. Yeah, right? Like, oh, we love
Right.
this guy, but we don't like that. Or you're just communicating with
Unless we know we can
agents.
convince him to just in that case, then you would say, hey, come play minor league baseball
Yeah, and
at
agents already
18.
get
Now
these
you're starting
guys
your
at a
clock, but
100%. Agents already get these guys at a young enough age where it's like the agent should just know, right? Like let's just say, Powers State University does a terrible job of developing pitchers. Well, the agent should get that information from the major league organization. And these aren't NIL agents, these guys that if Dan and I woke up tomorrow and said, you know what, we want to start representing players, we're going to go sign these guys to at our agency that we're backside ground balls agency and do an NIL contract. Like real MLB certified agents have this information and say, Power State does not do a good job of developing pitchers. You're a prospect. I don't care what they're offering you. If you want to play professional baseball, that's not the school to go to. That's the MLB certified agent's job to get that information from Pro. And if that kid still chooses to go there, that's his prerogative. He still has the rights to do that. And if a team still drafts him, that's the risk they run. But the reality is these agents should be, communicating the information that the orgs are setting and saying flat out, like, no, Power State does a horrible job of developing pitchers. You shouldn't go there. And then that guy goes, okay, spurns them and goes to Arkansas or goes to Georgia, where they're actually going to take care of you.
yeah. I mean, again, and I think the fact that the onus would then fall on the big league organizations is where it makes the most sense. And again, like I just don't think we have enough proof that we're definitely getting better at it. There's no question. We're getting better at protecting these arms. We have been. But there's no one in the world who can confidently say this is 100% what causes it. This is when it's going to happen. This is how it's going to happen. You just can't. Now we're getting smarter and we're getting better at figuring out, some of the safety um, things we need to take. It's come a long way even in the last 5 years, and hopefully it continues to trend that way. And there's a lot of people that work really hard at it, and the workload stuff I think is really important, along with the ground force stuff and everything like that. And so as a big league organization, like that now is what you have to be good at, is being able to understand that, hey, these are the right schools. These guys do a good job. And again, that's where the communication would become important between the big league organizations and the colleges. Potential hiccup from the college side again is like, now you're asking these pitching coaches to talk to, or these coaches, these head coaches are like, now they're in, not only are they in their office dealing with boosters and alumni and recruiting and the 900,000 things they have to
So
do already, but now they're
I
talking to
have a
big league
point for that,
coordinators.
because you made a point about that. It's got to be the director. Like they have director roles. That's got to
Sure.
be a director of pitching's job to
Well,
get that.
it
Like
would
the
go school to school,
liaison.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And if that's the pitching coach wants to do and dedicate their time to, fine. But if the pitching coach is spread a million different ways, any one of these directors has to be, again, there has to be. I'm not saying that colleges should hire an extra liaison to do it, like I'm saying for pro orgs, but I do think to a certain extent, like it should be all of these director roles that are so prevalent in college baseball at the highest level. One of them should just be assigned, your job is to communicate with that pro org, to create a development plan, and to make sure that's communicated to our pitching coach. Like, to me, I get what you're saying 100%, but I think there are so many people on these staffs that if one of them is pulled one different way to create this opportunity for them to acquire better talent, right? At the end of the day,
It's
they're
worth it.
acquiring better talent, so it's worth it, right? It has to be worth it. And and again, if the college doesn't want to work with the liaison, again, it goes back to my Power State example, right? Get that in the agency's ears, promote, like use a PR motive to get that to all the agents and say that is a blacklisted program until that head coach leaves. He doesn't want to work with us. He doesn't want to take care of you guys. He doesn't want to develop you guys. So don't go there.
Yep.
By all means, don't go there, right? And if you want to play professional baseball, that's not the best place for your development. There are other schools that are going to take care of you and going to do what needs to be done, right? Ultimately, through this conversation, like I've always thought the pitching hiccup would be the biggest obstacle. We've now talked through it to the point where I'm like, I don't even think that's a valid excuse. I understand
It's
the
not.
control side of it. I understand why orgs, like I said, the example of is like you go to any professional scout, you go to any professional, coordinator, any of these positions that are in these roles and say, this is the idea. Do you think it would work? I'd go, yeah, I think it would work. Colleges do a great job of developing talent. And then I go, okay, now take Andrew Painter and put him on Arkansas's pitching staff, and you have no control over it. I don't know about
Yeah.
that. Like
Yeah.
that would be what would how it would unfold is when we start actually putting names behind it. You have to do this with said player. You have to do this with that player. I think that's where MLB orgs would be like, I don't know, but again, I think all of them would at least acknowledge that the college baseball development structure is better than what they have. It's better because it's all under one roof. It's better because even your travel's in a better position, right? I mean, we talked to obviously good friend of the pod, Colin Palouse. It's like at Wake Forest, pre college World Series final Wake Forest, pre Omaha Wake Forest, they traveled better in the ACC than he ever did in minor league baseball. That was the first thing that stood out. I was like, no, this sucks, right? So even at lower power force programs that aren't your like big money funded programs, they're traveling better than what minor league baseball is. You're eating better, catered meals. I'm not going to name any programs. Some programs have catered lunches every day, even though that might not be allowed by NCAA standards. Multiple programs have catered lunch and dinner every day for these guys. Does that happen in minor league baseball? When you play a doubleheader, or not a doubleheader, when you play a game in one state and you have a 12-hour bus ride to the next state, what are they stopping for food on the way? Are they pulling into the pilot and you're either getting a protein bar and an energy drink or a hot dog on the roller that's been out since 2012? Which one? Like again, the incentive is on the prospect compared to I've been around enough. Like you're getting off of that plane or getting onto that plane with a
Getting
bag of
handed
food.
food. Yeah.
Yeah, snacks, food, and this is every program. This isn't just the big boys. Like every program has a much better nutrition plan. And that's not even to mention again like the one-on-one athletic training that you get on the road or at home. Just having those, training centers right next to your locker room, having your strength and conditioning coach with you at every point, having Newt Force, having Kinetrax,
How
having
many
all of these things.
on the food thing? How many programs now have we been to that they're starting to educate their guys to?
Yeah,
Like
right?
there's
Like
nutritional education that these programs are doing at the college level too. That now when they do go from college to the professional ranks, compared to the kid who's come from high school and this is all he's known, he's now way more educated. You're now way more educated nutritionally on what your body needs and even know how to cook a little more for yourself and what things you should be looking out for. And like that's just another positive.
well, and again, like so, I meant to make this point earlier. It got lost in one of the things. So many people might think that maybe don't know, right? How it's one of the most confusing things that people think of, like when with the facilities arms race across college athletics, is how do you know professional orgs don't have all these things under one house? So the way we know that is A, we know people, but the B is that colleges for the longest time pre NIL were incentivized by investing in development, right? Because they weren't paying athletes, they were paying for facilities. They were paying, Clemson was buying a water slide in their locker room, they were buying nap chambers, all of these things. So in baseball, what's been really cool is because they're behind football and all these other sports, they're now getting approval for all the things that they've been asking for since 2016, right? It's been a long time coming, but during the thick of the facilities arms race, now college baseball is all getting these things to approval and to, building and having these things finalized and done. And I think baseball is different in the fact that like pitching labs are super important in college baseball. If you don't have them, you're not a part of the who's who. You're not going to get players. All of those things, you're still incentivized by recruiting. Pro orgs have always solely focused on paying players. We throw enough darts at the dartboard, we're going to hit on a couple. We have no incentive to get a Newt Force Mound or a Kinetrax if we don't feel like it's worth the investment. Colleges, for the longest time, it was the only investment they were making. Pro orgs had to balance between signing bonuses and all of these things that they're paying athletes and then be like, are we sure we can afford in-game biomech? And again, most have at this point, right? But there was always more incentive in college baseball. So we sit there and it's like the resources alone in colleges, because even beyond that, the recovery chambers and things like
Yep.
that are prevalent at schools like
Yep.
Penn State and Clemson that we've highlighted in some of our videos, those are huge deals that I guarantee these programs don't have. I would bet, or these MLB orgs don't have, even at the major league level, like they don't have them, right? So these are all things that allow for the athlete to recover, allow for the athlete to develop, allow for their muscles to get the necessary development that they need. All of these pieces that are in place because colleges are incentivized to develop, invest in development, whereas pro orgs are just like, here's, oh, we gave you a signing bonus. What else do you want? Go either do it or don't.
Yeah. I mean, I think that like just the where development is in college baseball, um, and maybe we're wrong in saying it's better than minor leagues. I just for me the reason one of the main reasons I think it's better is just the communication between player and program, whereas in the professional ranks the communication isn't there and guys can get left behind and there isn't as much of a emphasis to make sure that everybody's on the same page, whereas in the college program that's the biggest emphasis. So even if it's the same, let's say it's the same, let's say that they're developing just as well at the professional level as they do inside college programs, why not let these kids then get the intrinsic stuff that you get from playing college baseball, the maturing, the growing up, the being in the locker room? Why not then let them get that at that level instead of having to do it, again in a setting where it's a glorified scrimmage or the travel's ridiculous and 18 to 22, here's a breaking news, pretty important in a person's development as a human, as a person, as a competitor, things off the field. Why not set them up at a place where That's what colleges are for,
Yeah.
right? Like that is,
And get an
universities are
education.
and get an education while you're doing it, right? So
Yeah.
like even if the development is the same, because I don't think it's better. Like to me, you cannot convince me that player development is better at the professional level. It's either worse or
No.
the same. At the very best, it's the
Yes.
same.
And
And
that's select orgs. That's and again, the player doesn't have
select
incentive
programs
to
for sure
pick.
as well.
Yes, but kids don't have the opportunity in the draft to pick where they go. Again,
Correct.
you were under the last Nationals
Correct.
regime. You could have been a great prospect who had an opportunity to go to Arkansas or get drafted. And guess what? You're so good that your reward is to be drafted by an org that doesn't believe in the modern player development technology. Great. Like, go figure it out, bud. Like, that's Major League's reward system.
Yeah, and I think that like there will have to be you have to give the major league org something. I don't know what in this negotiation there would have to be some sort of way to do that because the free agency thing I completely agree with, like starting their clock. That there would be huge pushback on that from major league organizations, which is stupid. It always has
Well,
been.
I think here's the the return offer: shrinking minor leagues, which is
Or
coming.
give
Like, this is, and I
yes,
think this is the big picture of like the draft shrinking and the minor leagues are shrinking. We know that's coming. This is a resolution.
this would kind of stink for the players. So I don't know, if I'm now hurting the players enough, but like increasing the options that they have to go back and
Yeah,
forth.
yeah, true. Mm-hmm.
That might be a sufficient enough, right? So because
Mm-hmm.
I forget what it is even now, and there's ways around it now, but giving organizations more options for guys to go up and down,
Yeah,
um, maybe. But yeah, no,
yeah,
I think that shrinking minor leagues, like you said, that is good incentive. It would be fun. I mean, you and I have wanted to do this for a long time. I don't think we'll see with the new CBA that's coming what's going to
yes,
happen because anything could happen. I think as we head into this, I don't think we're going to be playing baseball in 2027 at major league level, so that'll
yeah,
be interesting. But um, it's going to be fascinating to see, and it would be fun if this could ever happen because I just think it makes more sense for the individual development of players
yeah.
and
Well,
why hockey can do it, but major league, someone smarter than me can explain that to me.